Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today I am joined by the founder of Skute, Mr. Dan Lewis. How are you today, Dan?
Yeah, good today. Nice to
Welcome.
nice to be here.
No, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. I'm really looking forward to diving into this conversation with you. But first and foremost, can you just give me an overview or give the listeners and viewers an overview of what the business is and what you guys do?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, what we are, we're a physical to digital platform, but focused around private social networks. We sort of really feel, I think, back in the day, we always sort of felt that social was this kind of complete mayhem of kind of content and kind of craziness really, and everything was sort of slightly sort of sporadic and crazy world and that sort of area. But we sort of felt there was a really interesting element to kind of to hone in onto these micro communities and what they were doing, how they were communicating with each other, how they were connecting with each other. And I was working in sort of other areas of physical to digital spaces using technology like iBeacons and NFC technology, even QR codes. And I thought, hey, couldn't we put this into something a bit more kind of tangible and a bit more fun? And so, we started to create smart merchandise, which is basically taking the tech, putting them into merch, and ultimately they would then facilitate and launch connected social experiences that were completely run and facilitated by the content owners. And that's pretty much what Skute is about.
I mean,
It's
that just sounds amazing. Sounds like
yeah,
the most fun way to be able to merge sort of that technology and community aspect together.
yeah. And I think now in this current format, right now in this current world we live in right now, is like it's interesting. Is that there's definitely been a seismic shift into private networks. There's a lot
Sure.
of interesting folks, very big names that are getting into that space and seeing the commercial opportunities. But from my perspective, being a dad of two, um, for me, the most important thing is around safety. And I kind of sort of feel that I want to kind of give the keys to the sweet shop to brands or to content owners or to influencers or even just the individuals on the street, whether it's a skate crew or something. The opportunity to they can run the network how they want to run it. They can be as creative as they want to be with it.
Mm.
And to me, that sounds really exciting, but B, it just means that whatever tribe you are, wherever you want to be, you can feel that you're being protected and you're in a safe environment and you can be who you want to be. And I think that's really, for me, that's the fundamental kind of
Yeah.
thing that I want to be trying to drive.
Yeah, I think that's such a great driving factor as well. Anyway, for you, is there a lot of do you have to educate people in terms of the technology and how it can work and how actually it can benefit them in those ways you just mentioned?
Yeah, that's
The way you answer that's like, yeah.
it's
This is
it's
this
one
is
of the
my pain.
biggest barriers really.
Yeah.
It's interesting when we first sort of did. I actually won a competition back in 2012 with Innovate UK, and anyone that's doing anything in that space who wants to try out something, it's a great platform because they happen to be doing something in the music industry, and it was like how do fans connect better with their artists and their heroes, and it was like, well, just tag up the merch, and then that gives you an instant, connection between fan and artist. And, that industry really got it. But what was interesting for me is that when we first kind of, trialed it out, we actually teched up guitar plectrums for a band from Nashville. And it was so crazy to see how these fans were not only kind of connecting to these guitar picks, but they were keeping them and then wanting to, get other people to kind of tap on them and like the band. And it created this kind of organic peer-to-peer kind of viral element, but through a physical space. And it was awesome. And then, when we started it out, when we first did the sort of Scoot, we actually created these little pods and like wristbands that could be, could pop out and all this and stuff that actually we started to show. We shared it with kind of one of the hardest communities ever, which was sort of skate communities. They pretty much will tell you if it's crap or not. They will go, but
Honest
they
feedback.
they have real honest feedback. But actually, as a community, they are so tight. They're
Yeah.
they're a really ring fence community. And They just loved it because what we were creating was almost like a Dropbox content platform where they could literally create their own communities, make their own content, leave it in skate parks, create their own kind of games of skate and all this sort of stuff, and just being really creative with it. But to educate them, it took about 5 minutes telling them how it all worked, and then they were gone. And then we were just sort of filming them just from a distance and just watching all the magic happen. It was amazing. Where the education becomes difficult is when you're then talking to brands and you've got these huge big sort of teams, or maybe an older generation, and they don't sort of understand it, they don't get it, they don't understand why you need to tap on something, why can't you just have a kind of just a normal app, and they kind of that's always been a big challenge for us, a major challenge, and still is. To really, I mean, even though now NFC technology is such a big thing, Apple are doing such a big push, especially in the US at the moment. You know, they're talking about Apple Clips and all these sort of things, which are all based around the NFC technology, discoverable points of interest, and seeing what's in those apps before you actually download them. And you know, I think Apple's main, you know, focus right now is for heaven's sake, get rid of the QR code, because it's just disgusting. It's just not Apple, is it? It just doesn't work for them.
It's not slim line.
But when you can put sort of a technology into a hat or into a t-shirt, and it's all completely seamless, and it just then has this sort of digital experience associated to it, then it's a real game changer. And I think that's what we're excited about, because I think once we start getting these really big kind of brands or clubs or organizations behind it, then we know that Apple will just throw so much of their own marketing behind it, and will get behind it in such a big
to run with it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, education is super hard. But actually, once you start to realize it's becoming so, I think Apple Pay and things like that has really helped the understanding of how the tech works. But my experience of doing projects in the States, even last year, you know, I was showing people doing some stuff at the San Diego Film Festival, and you kind of you're showing how it works, and it's almost like I was David Blaine or something, or doing something sort of magical. I didn't realize what the hell it was. So
who is this British person coming over?
But I think the key is, and what I always say from a sort of strategic point of view when I'm talking to clients is, you know, think about how people use the Apple iPhone. You know, it was kids that basically had the iPods, knew how the iPods worked. Then when the iPhone came out, it was that generation that were telling the parents how to use the iPhone. And it's the same sort of kind of build.
Still
and
is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for you, that moment when, you know, you sort of tested it with the skate park crew and they got it. How did that feel for you in terms of a tangible product moving forward that you knew had legs?
Well, back then I was elated. It was super, super risky. I bootstrapped everything, and you know, you put everything into it, and you're just kind of keeping all your fingers crossed and going, hope this works. And then they just started using it and were going crazy with it. And that was the first edition of the first iteration of Skute. And that was exciting. But then at that time, that elation sort of suddenly turned into sort of slight desperation, because we realized that actually they were making all this content. I was then, at the time, we were, you know, our server costs were just through the roof. We had all these people wanting to join up on the app, even though the app was kind of buggy and everything else. Even at that time, you know, we were doing something that no one else was doing, way ahead of the curve. And I actually got told by someone the other day, said, you're still ahead of the curve. You're still ahead of the curve, and it's crazy. Because it is an uphill struggle. But I think the big thing back then was that NFC wasn't opened up on Apple. And so as soon as you wanted to try and talk to brands, get brands involved, they were like, well, it doesn't work on my phone. And you kind of go, well, yeah, it only works on Android at the moment. But, you know, that's going to change. And, you know,
give it time. It's coming.
Yeah. So it did take a lot of sort of, I suppose, a bit of a personal challenge for me to kind of go, do you know what? Maybe we are too soon here. Maybe we just need to just take a step back and have a bit of a pause and a break. I was going through some personal stuff at the time after kind of, you know, 2-3 years vlogging this thing, and it was costing me a lot of money personally. And so I thought I just need to take a break from this. But it was a good thing to do that, just to get a bit of a reflection on what we'd actually achieved and who we'd actually kind of engaged with, and the kind of audience we've organically managed to grow, which was, you know, in the hundreds of thousands, which was amazing.
It's incredible.
You know, even though I was going out to sort of investors in the States, and they're going, hey, but if you don't have 4 million users, we're not interested. You're like, oh my God, you know, what do I have to do?
When does the number end?
Yeah, they just pluck a massive number.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. But you know, I feel like, you know, we were doing something that was so uniquely different, and it is hard because, you take a break and then you see other companies that, they get a load of, investment money because they've kind of got better, opportunities. And then, they're actually kind of replicating what you're doing, but maybe not doing it in the way that you kind of were doing it, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I used it as a real positive in that first iteration, because I took all that knowledge and all that insight and all that know-how of how to engage with all these audiences, and and that was amazing. And I actually ended up working for a charity for 2 years, one of the major charities, and who were quite kind of, quite sort of conservative. And I went in there and completely disrupted them and was doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But bringing, getting them audiences, right? Getting 22 million younger audiences that they never had, by basically bringing in grime artists and street artists and urban poets that I was working with beforehand. But bringing them in from a kind of a charitable perspective of how to kind of engage with those audiences organically, creating really relevant and cool content. And, all of that sort of stuff was all down to the fact of doing that first iteration of Skute. And, I'll always love it for that, if that makes sense. Even though
100%.
100%. It pulls you apart as well.
It may have almost destroyed you, but you got through it. You got through it. You're here. You're with us. But you came back fighting in 2018, right? For you, at what point prior to sort of the second launch, let's say, did you think to yourself, now is the time for me to go at this again? Now is the time for me to put myself on the line again?
Yeah, well, weirdly, I was always in contact with so we were working with a tag company. We were doing all these hackathons and stuff beforehand, and I became really good friends with one of the senior VPs of a tag manufacturer called HID Global in the States. They're amazing guys. And at the time, during my kind of leave of absence, I was still in cahoots with them, because they were doing a lot of work with Nike at the time, when they did all the Nike Connect products and all the NBA shirts and the Chelsea shirts and everything else. So I was kind of helping them to with their discussions with Nike on what the kind of experiences they should be doing, launching off those shirts. And the sad thing was that Nike kind of listened to some of it, and they kind of ended up just going off and just basically putting their website on a tag on an NBA shirt, which, that doesn't mean anything.
You probably just went like that. Oh. God,
it was a classic emoji slap on the head. And you kind of go, this is a real sad, it's a real waste of this opportunity, because audiences want to connect with something that's real. And if you've bought a LeBron James shirt, I want to be able to kind of connect with him on a personal level, or be able to have a chat with him, or ask him how he did in that game. And at the same time, that player feels more connected, because that fan has actually gone to the effort of buying a $90 jersey.
For sure. They're
not going to be a troll. They're not going to be an idiot. They're actually genuinely interested in a real fan. And I think brands are nervous about that interaction. They're nervous about having that conversation. But I do feel that, in the current climate, I've got a whole raft of other sort of changes and challenges which have cropped up. But at the same time, I feel that, especially after lockdown, brands and certainly sports organizations and things are having to change and shift. And there's some sort of exciting new things that are developing on our side, which fingers crossed will be
some huge opportunities coming up, because that sense of community and has in one sense been propelled in terms of local, but also has been taken away in terms of people, like you said, not being able to go to music gigs, not being able to go even what do they call them, expos, right? Expos. Not that I'm really missing expos, to be fair. Right, although I did think the other day I've run out of a pen, and I thought, well, if I was at an expo, I'll be able to have about 100 of them. But there must exactly, that classic bag that you get given the first time you walk in, that you just fill with crap and never call any of them. But with these opportunities rising, where do you see the scope then? Where do you see your focus moving forward, with the tech and that community aspect merging together?
Yeah, so I guess the lockdown has had me sort of thinking a lot. I mean, I actually, even during lockdown, I wanted to kind of do something, and actually I did these stay home crew t-shirts, and which was a challenge in itself, to kind of bring in all these different kind of other suppliers and things to kind of make it happen. But I just wanted to kind of fill a digital channel just full of cool, good news, because everywhere was just doom and gloom, and I just wanted something
yeah.
that was just fun and happy and all the cool stuff, and I just kind of fed it all into there, which was a great little side project and raised some nice money for charities. But I've been basically over the years been sort of thinking and battling about, basically what we created a platform that could deliver private networks, because I saw there were two major things I was sort of seeing in the current influencer world as well. Merchandise was going through the roof. Everyone was doing merch, but yet still people were getting counterfeit products, getting screwed over on that, even the music industry. But yet no one seems to really kind of want to look at solving that issue. So
It
I
was
was thinking,
almost accepted.
yeah, put a tag in the real merch that connects to a artist, a influencer, a club, it's the real McCoy. It's that simple, really. But it's kind of even that process, so it seems hard to kind of resonate. But I was kind of, it was a real sort of struggle to work out where I needed to go, and I was talking to lots of influencer agencies, and they were kind of going, "Hey, yeah, what do you know about us? You're an old dude," and all this sort of stuff. And I go, "Well, that's fine. I'm a dad, but because I'm a dad, I care about the future of where social's going." And you're seeing articles about especially in sport, female sports stars getting trolled, and they have to be on these kind of social platforms, and yet they're being just full of hate and nastiness and sexism and hatred, and it's horrible. Music artists also coming out doing documentaries about how they've been trolled and bullied and everything else, and you kind of go, well, really do something about it. And then you kind of, I was telling all these agencies, look, I've got a platform that literally you don't have to spend 250 grand to build something. I've got something that could just be an end-to-end, have your merch, design it yourself, connect it up to your fans and sell it. So you're selling your merch anyway, but just have your own connected channel to it, which means you can do all your own rewards, you can do all your own sponsorship deals. Everything that you're doing can all be funneled into this one channel that you ultimately own everything, the data, the fans, the experiences, the creation, all of those things you can do all in one place. And they're kind of go, yeah, but we still want to be on Instagram. And you say, yeah, you can be, but they're taking a huge chunk of all of your effort and all your hard work, pull it into something else.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of being ignored, and then all of a sudden you see like Logan Paul just does, oh, I've got Maverick Club. It's a private channel. You have to buy merch first, and he's making 250,000 to $1 million a month on subscription models, and you kind of go, and then they're all going, wow, this is amazing, and you go, oh my god, am I on
another head slap
on crazy pills here? So I won't lie, it's had a huge effect on my mental health, because I've been really, you get really down when you kind of go, what do I need to say, what I do? But what's been a real lifeline for me is that I actually ended up talking, and we're actually going to be partnering up, and maybe even just the whole sort of change, whole thing's going to change again, but with these incredible guys that are a group of very senior sort of guys in the world of sport, and we're talking like the biggest name brand out there, and various heads of football, heads of rugby, all sorts of things, product. And what they don't know about sport and fan engagement isn't worth knowing. But what they didn't have was a platform. And I think where we're now focusing our attention on is going, what, let's look at sports clubs, let's look at the situation. And as racism is still, I think they were saying the other day, was a stat, it's like 40% rise in racism in football, even during lockdown. I mean,
Jesus, how's that even possible?
Yeah. And you're kind of going, this is insane. And so, and the thing is, football clubs with fan bases, as they can, if they go, right, we're not on any other social map, we're going to have our own social platform. Do you think people aren't going to join? Do you think that's not? Exactly. And there's also an element around sustainability and around teams producing shirts every single season and all this sort of stuff. It's just crazy. And you see it in the sport now, where so many of these organizations, so many of these clubs are really, especially after lockdown, just kind of going, what do we do? How are we going to survive? How are we going? And their one kind of go-to is like, well, let's just up the price of the ticket prices. And that's just, so why should the fan
cardboard cutouts on the seats?
Exactly. And I think the thing is that what we're starting to now do is we're talking to some incredible clubs, especially in the US, where they really understand fans and they really understand how to engage with them and different types of fans. And we are so tangibly close to getting some incredible opportunities where we will change the game. and how that works. And if we can connect to, you know, these thousands of jerseys to these amazing fans from a global perspective, not only is that club going to increase their revenue opportunities, because it means you've got direct eyeball interactions and engagements through the actual connected jersey, but you're actually, the jersey is going to be able to do things like they'll be able to, you know, after the game, that tag will be able to kind of let you into the after party, or, you know, be able to kind of give you a free pint at halftime. All the things that everyone's doing in sport, where you've got an app for your food, beverages, you've got an app for your ticketing, it'll all be facilitated to one place and facilitated by the team's jersey. And I think it doesn't sound like rocket science, but, you know, we are now getting there. And
but it makes perfect sense as well. And
yeah,
when
I think it's a
phrase
great
it like
area
that, you just think,
yeah,
why are they not already doing it?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
If like you said, you know, the technology to enable it has been around for a while. Is it is the fact that it's not as common as one might think? Is that all just down to what we said earlier in terms of that education? And I guess when you get to those sort of higher levels, you get into that dangerous world of just having a meeting about a meeting about a meeting about a meeting about a meeting.
Indeed.
And that message can probably be quite easily lost through those meetings.
No, massively. I mean, look, there's a whole wealth of issues. You know, you've got the actual product, you know, the product development of the actual jersey, and then the implementation of the tag. And there's always people who go, "Oh, it's really hard to do." It actually really isn't. It's you know, it's a heat press. You put all the other badges and sponsors you put on. It's the same process. It's exactly the same. It's just
but it's got technology in it. You're gonna break it. No, you're gonna be fine. Just trust me.
Exactly. And, you know, and people were doing, you know, I know Tommy Hilfiger were doing stuff with Bluetooth beacons, you know, to track people and, you know, see all those communities. But great. I mean, it's a great sort of starting point. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, that's a very, very expensive piece of tech. And what where we've got to with the tags now is that they're literally, you know, 5-10p, if that. And if you buy them bulk, it's just not even, you know, they're worth nothing in the sense of a price and the quantities, but they will last longer than the garment, you know. And, you know, it's thanks to people like Nike, who've done the kind of the Nike washing test and all these sort of stuff, who've literally taken a jersey and, you know, taken it to the hell and back, you know. That we now know what these tags can withstand. You know, even with the R&D that we've done, we know that these things can last in snow and in sea, and, you know, in all sorts of weathers. And skaters were literally trying to break them and throw them under trucks and lorries, and they wouldn't break. And yet it was just all about understanding what the fan wants and understanding what the user wants. And it's just about, you know, using these sometimes. And I think sometimes there's a lot of stuff just goes out there and just go, we're going to do tech for tech's sake, and actually not actually listen to what the fan really genuinely wants. Do they really want 45 jerseys, you know, shirts of a club? They probably want the first one when they first join, and maybe one that they kind of, you know, a special edition one or something like that. And that's really, you know, that's really what we've got to try and get the mindset.
It's like getting over that it sounds strange, but it's getting over that, having it for a marketing sake, and breeding it into actually, no, this is going to build a longer term community that is going to be able to outsell your marketing efforts anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, look, and this is why, you know, I'm so excited about the opportunities that we've started to have with these guys. Connected Fanatics, they're called, and they're just amazing guys. And, you know, it's one of those kind of wonderful moments when I was in the first call with them. We're talking to a client, and we were on with one of the big major MLS clubs, and you're just kind of talking to them, and I was just sort of sat there for sort of, listening to them talk, and just going, oh my god, these guys really know what they're talking about, and this is like sort of a dream come true. Because I felt like I was sort of banging my head against a brick wall for the last few years. But I suppose what it's really done for me, I guess, this whole kind of relationship where we hopefully we're going to be going, it's kind of put the big boy pants on us, really, because we were sort of still hanging out and being cooled down with the kids, but actually we're a much bigger opportunity than that. We're a much smarter kind of and seamless product that I think has so many kind of variables. So whether it's a white label solution, we can create our own sort of SaaS product potentially, or it's something where, you know, we want people to kind of go like we did in our first version. We want people to kind of maybe go on our site one day, create their own graphics, make their own merchandise like they do now, but they tech it up, and then they can literally just connect their crews or connect their school or whatever there is.
Really like that.
I think that's where we want to be. And for me, the most exciting thing that I've always loved is just watching what people want to do with it, and it's what I've been sort of saying to all these conversations with these clubs, as going, because they were going, "Oh, is ours going to be better than theirs?" And we're going to. And I said, "Do you know what? That's each one of you are going to have exactly the same platform. What you do creatively and what you use it for, you're going to be so different to all the other clubs, and that's what the flexibility in the platform will give you, and that's the exciting thing that we can do for you." And I think you can start to sort of see, right, this isn't a cookie cutter off the shelf kind of fan app. This is something that can be uniquely bespoke to me, because a group of fans are going to be different to a whole other group of fans,
and fans evolve as well. Fans change
they
over
evolve,
time.
absolutely. And the other big thing for us is, because we tag it up in such a way, and especially in sport is so bad, especially in this country, is it's kind of this one shoe fits all mentality. So what we have is that if you've got a kid's hat, the actual experience, we will know that that's being worn by a child. So the experience from that club will be completely targeted and central to that age group. So it also but then it also opens up bigger commercial opportunities for the club, because it means they can go after different brands that are more associated to that younger audience. And also means the players can have their own channels. There's lots of things to be able to discover, and it just means everything can be age specific.
You're just breaking down that massive communication barrier, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Which, from a business point of view, the data that they can get from that alone, even if it was in the most basic form, that you knew how many people were buying and wearing jerseys and coming to the games rather than just buying them. Simple data like that, they can do so much with.
I mean, the guys at Skute were talking about one of the biggest clubs in this country, and we're just saying, like, even if there was a 5% subscription model to have access to certain channels within a connected jersey, they would be making anything around sort of 35 million a year just from that alone. Jeez. And this is what we can do. And
need that right now.
And when you got rugby clubs, even Formula One teams and all sorts of stuff that are kind of just trying to do, they're kind of just, you can see the scraping away going, even if they're not performing on track. And how do we engage with the fans? It's like, just connect the merchandise, let them into the team, because they want to be a part of your team.
Definitely.
That's really all it is,
It sounds like an incredible bit of tech, and I cannot wait to see, fingers crossed, touch wood, everything else, these opportunities evolve for you. So do let me know when that happens, because I'm no doubt it would. One of my final questions for you, Dan, is it's quite a big question for one of the final questions, so bear with me. But you mentioned that obviously it's not been the easiest journey. There's been a lot of frustration and ups and downs. How, for you, have you put yourself in a position where you're getting enough support to be able to sort of be there for the business, obviously still be there for family and all that personal life as well? Did you have you put yourself in sort of specific networks or anything like that? You can say no.
I haven't still put myself in specific networks. I think I've been trying to find the right sort of people to have around me, I guess, and it's been really, really hard. I've had, like, the guys I've helped to build the platform are some of my best mates that I've known for years. The first version I got absolutely slammed there. I had money in my pocket, and then they were like, people were grabbing it with left, right, and centre, and I do feel I got it was a big learning process. And I think when you have a product like this, people see the dollar signs. They suddenly see the potential of it. And I won't lie, I think I'm a very trusting person, which is probably one of my biggest sort of failing points, I guess. And I've had people that are kind of go, right, we'll invest, but if you have to do this, you go and do that, and then suddenly they just completely blank you. I've had people who are supposed to be introducers, and then they want 50% of your business. I even had a music artist that I went to go, a music manager, who basically I went to go and see, and they basically wanted 50% of the company out straight. And you're going, what? I said 50% of the product. I don't even know
your surname yet.
Rev share's fine, but are you crazy? And I felt very, very isolated, and I've been thrown under the bus a few times, and it's really, really hard. And finding investment in this country is like next to impossible unless you hit one of the sort of sweet spots, or if you know people. And it's been really hard, and you just kind of trying to just battle on and show what you can do. And And yeah, I can't. It's had its, I think probably the breaking points have been, quite, very recently, especially during lockdown, where I've trying to keep up I've been homeschooling my kids. I'm a single dad of two, and you're just trying to keep and juggling everything, and you then realize that actually there's nothing left in the coffers, and you've got to try and work out what you're going to do next, and try and maybe look for, but then you're kind of told you're not relevant enough and you're too old and all this sort of stuff. Because I think there's a definite bit of ageism out there, and that's been a real kick in the teeth. I can't tell, but I feel that I've now kind of got to a point where I've met some, these guys are kind of like, I guess, these Connected Fanatic guys, when they came along was at the right time. And it was almost like it was a sort of a last chance saloon for me. And I feel that, I feel like I'm not the only one slogging away trying to make this work, trying to turn people's attention. And I've met some amazing people, like a life coach now has changed my life, and just telling me just to kind of clear my head about certain things. She's ordered me to go on a holiday with my mates, for instance. Just go, you gotta go.
Where are you gonna go?
Just going off to Wales actually next week actually, so I'm looking forward to that. Just doing some walking, get some fresh air, get out.
Man. That's what it's all about, that balance though.
And I've realized that, I need to, I'm always one of those people that just wants to look out for everybody else and make sure everyone's happy. And, it's been really emotional, Stephen. I can't tell you. I mean, I've probably had some of my kind of darkest moments, and I've been kind of, I had a team meeting with the guys to tell them what we were trying to do. And I was literally in tears on the phone to them, which is crazy. And I'm like, well, that was embarrassing. But, I feel like I'm more open to kind of share that, mental health is a really big issue. It's affected me greatly. And,
you've got to have that support network around you.
You do. And, I've been to some pretty dark places, and you kind of go, that it's worth kind of living for. You've got to keep going because you're doing something good, because, you look at everything in the news, and, you kind of, I don't know, you've got to kind of put yourself in a position to go, it's okay. It's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be weak sometimes. And I'm very fortunate to have an amazing girlfriend who's been very supportive. I don't know how she's stuck around, but I have.
Don't even think about that.
But I have amazing family, and it was lovely to open up to them finally, and to know that they're there to support me, and my friends as well, who have just been beyond amazing, and when you're really, really, down at your lowest ebb, they're kind of going, no, you're coming along whether you got money or not.
Those are the friends you want.
And I think, I feel that I'm feeling hopeful for the future, that, I think that the way the world is changing, people need to be more connected. They need to feel safer, and I think this is the hilarious thing. We were talking about the whole, TikTok and the whole thing about the states and the data issues and everything else. That's not the biggest issue for me. I've always been kind of a big advocate. It's like, yeah, absolutely, data, that's a big issue. But actually, do you know what? It's about keeping their audience safe, and for people to feel kind of part of something. And that's what I love, artists like Youngblood, who comes out and they're just so individual and different. They're not following this sort of Instagram mold anymore. They're just going, be different, be unique, be your own self.
People are craving it though. That's the thing.
Yeah, and
people are bored of the whole Instagram life, and
I want them to be my kind of figureheads, because this is exactly what this is built for them, is to drive these communities and these tribes, and to make join those movements and create movements, and don't feel embarrassed about expressing yourself and being creative.
And they're the sorts of people that also want to create those communities. You mentioned Logan Paul earlier. Him creating a personal community actually gives him a hell of a lot more control over everything that he does, rather than putting it on, there's that phrase, isn't it, like using someone else's land, basically. Plus the
fact he's banned on all the other platforms.
I mean, apart from that, although he has like one of the biggest podcasts in the world at the moment, so.
He really does. But fair play to the guy. Look, Jamal Edwards, great, inspiration to me. I spoke to him about connecting up some murals and stuff, and talked about that, and it's great that, he's brought out 8 Bar, which is again, a private network of sorts, for finding next new talent. And I think
you're in a really great position now though for Skute to just jump on these and take these opportunities and run with them, because it is being driven now by, you know, the leaders, the influencers, the people that have got these communities already, but they want that more connection with it, to remove those trolls and things like that.
Yeah, it's just trying to make that shift though. Sometimes
Yeah,
even they just like the devil they know, and they
yeah.
don't understand what the new opportunity
There's
could
always
be.
fear in the unknown, right?
Oh,
Always.
it's been the story of my life, Stephen, for years.
But listen, Dan, I've got good vibes. You're a fantastic guy, and you know this
Thanks,
product that
man.
you've created, this business that you've created is so interesting, and
Yeah.
I wish you nothing but the best.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Stephen. It's been really good. It's been lovely chat. It's been
No,
really
lovely.
lovely. Thank you very
I
much
really enjoyed
indeed.
it. My final question is: how can people find out more about you? How can people find out more about the business?
Well, at the moment, we're kind of keeping things a little under wrap because but you can go on our website,
Don't come on a
skute.me.
podcast if you're keeping things under wrap, man.
Yeah, not under wrap. I mean, more like the sports stuff we're keeping under wraps
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's quite a big. That could be a huge thing. But you can check out what the app does on Skute.me, or you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm really open to chat to people and obviously any founders that are going through the sort of same kind of stresses and strains and wondering why me and everything else. I would love to kind of chat to people and I'm very open to talk to people about that sort of stuff because
Yeah.
it is bloody hard.
Oh yeah,
You have to be a certain type of nutter to do this kind of
it
work.
really is.
You know.
It's one of the reasons I started this little founders community that I've got. That we meet
Yeah,
every day, we chat. It just keeps everyone on that not level playing field, but they know that actually there's always help out there. There's people that have been
yeah,
through it,
yeah,
and it's such a common story. It
yeah,
really is. But you know, people like you that are talking about it more. Really helps just the industry as a whole in terms of founders, business owners, but
yeah,
also people that are wanting and looking up to other people.
yeah,
It means that they almost prep themselves for a very strange life when we're business owners. Very strange indeed.
yeah, yeah. But I've already sort of offered it out, but this platform essentially it's free for people to use, and anyone who's an influencer or anyone who's in that space that wants to use it and wants to play around with it and wants to connect stuff up, just reach out to me, and I'm looking for collaborations all the time and want to do some fun stuff.
Fantastic, Dan. Thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. It's been a fantastic conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Cheers, Stephen. Take
Thank,
care. Yeah, all the best.
thanks everyone for watching and listening. It's been Founders 365.